Welcome to 45 South tonight on Thursday, 11th of September. I'm Terry Kent. Well, 11th of September, or as we've now referred to it, 9/11, and we think back to 2001 and those tragic events. But for today, a wonderful day in Oamaru, beautiful weather, and time now to move on to some headline news from the Oamaru Mail. And the headline is, Tighter Security at Oamaru Wins. Examples of violent behaviour were isolated in Mayor Gary Kirch's experience as a Work and Income New Zealand employee. However, the Ashburton shootings have seen security stepped up in offices around the country, and things won't ever be the way they were, he says. Mr Kirch was commenting about the effect on staff in the Oamaru Office of Work and Income following the shooting of 3 employees in Ashburton by beneficiary Russell John Tully recently. It's been really encouraging to see people rallying around the staff in Oamaru, sending messages of support and small gifts, he said. There's a higher standard of security there now. It's a pity, but that's the way it is. Things are starting to settle down and the staff are working their way through those issues. In a letter addressed to community partners, Debbie Power from the Ministry of Social Development said controlled access to all offices had been introduced, which meant that people may be asked to show identification and have a specific reason for going inside. We are encouraging our clients to ring the contact centre before and make an appointment before coming in. It's important that clients still come to these appointments, and we're making these changes to reinforce that clients and staff can feel safe in our offices. Further in on the page, here's a good news story. Esme wins Mini Cooper. And Esme Healy, 86 years of age, is the proud owner of a brand new one-off Mini Cooper which has been imported from England after being named the winner of a national Foursquare supermarket promotion. And Mrs Healy has shopped at Fraser's Foursquare North End for 25 years and said that she was very pleased to have been drawn the winner of Foursquare's 90th birthday celebration promotion. The shoppers were able to enter the competition each time they purchased goods, and more than 24,000 entries were received. Mrs Healy doesn't drive, but her granddaughter Nicola ensures that she gets to where she needs to go. I think it's awesome that Nana's been coming here to Fraser's for 25 years. Good story. Looking through a continuation of yesterday's story about the flooding, ORC checks responsibility for Totra flood works. And the Otago Regional Council is considering whether they are responsible for floodwater drainage on the Totra area, and they're likely to present the decision at a meeting on the 22nd of September in Dunedin. Doug Brown, the Otago Regional Council's councillor for this area, said that he will be attending the meeting along with District Council representatives. Something needs to be done, he said. We're checking out our responsibilities to see where they lie. Further through, just a reminder for those of you that haven't yet voted, and it's not yet polling day, but it's there are some good opportunities, of course, to go in early now and register that vote without having to put pressure on for the actual day. But with the election 10 days away, there are still 3,411 people who've yet to register as part of the Waitaki electorate. There is an estimated 52,000 people in the electorate, but if they're not registered, they can't vote. And that's about 93% are registered. And the Waitaki Registrar of Electorates, Gisela Craig, says that it's important that people did sign up to vote. You could still vote, but it would have to be part of a special vote, and would much rather people voted than not voting. I'm sure they do. And let's move over now to those community notices with Smash Palace. Alright, I have my wee list here, and the first one, I gave you the heads up last week. It's the fact that all are invited to the Salvation Army's community meal to be held this Sunday, on Sunday the 14th of September at 12:30 p.m. in the Youth Hall, 255 Thames Street, Oamaru. And they do ask you to ring this number phone 434 8413, and that's to leave a message for catering purposes, but remembering that all are invited. Looking further down my list here, Sunday the 14th is also the beginning of Adult Learning Week, and a free workshop is to be held at the Lone and Merc from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as part of the Adult Learning Week. So you can come along and show off your skills so that the community can all get a chance to learn something new. Now you can sign up for that, and there is an email here, which is a bit of a complicated one, but I'll say it anyway, jfbnzaddy@gmail.com. So that's jfbnzaddy@gmail.com. That's an email if you want to get involved, or you can phone Jill on 434 3006. That's Adult Week at the Lone and Merc, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Sunday the 14th. Further down, for those of you that enjoy these types of things, travelling up the valley, on Saturday the 20th, so looking a week ahead, there's a Valley Variety Show to be held in Oamaru, and that's to be held at the Oamaru Hall, and if you have talent, they're looking for people to take part in this variety show. The contact there, more phone numbers for you, there's a contact, it's Kay at 03 438 9438. So there we are. Now further down, on Sunday the 21st, much more local and close to home to the station, is the North Otago Scottish Society's concert. That's on 2 p.m. at the Scottish Hall, of course. All are welcome. Non-members, just a $3 entry. That's on Sunday the 21st at 2 p.m. So that's something for you to do. And further through, and you may have an involvement now or in the past with Waitaki Girls High School, it's what they're calling Theatrics Night. Now I don't know if this is the drama or the plays. I guess it is the plays that I would have been familiar with, but it's referred to these days as the Waitaki Girls High School Theatrics Night, a night full of entertainment including talent show winners and the Pacifica Group, and of course, as I thought, the competitive house dramas. Now that's on at 7 p.m. at the MK Dunning Hall, and tickets are available at the school office from mid-September on, so must be fairly soon, I would have thought. Just a good plug here for the Forrester Gallery. Our good old Forrester Gallery, open daily between 10:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. There's two displays. One I've mentioned to you several times. The one I want to mention to you first is Tito Kuwara's Dilemma. Now this is Marion Maguire, and that's a good one that's on there at the Forrester Gallery. The other one, because we have more than one gallery, the other gallery, of course, is the Customs House Gallery. And down there they have the Three Friends art exhibition, Chris Applin, Yvonne Mundell, and our local Barry White that we know so well. And Barry's a great supporter of 45 South, I have to tell you. So plenty of things for you to do. Time now to move on to the 45 South's Daily Weather Report. And for today, Thursday, by 1 p.m, the temperature was 16 degrees on an absolutely beautiful weather day. Blue skies yet again. The overnight low is expected to be 5 degrees. Tomorrow, Friday, the high will be 17 with an overnight low of just 7 degrees. Forecast, however, is for increasing high clouds, rain later, and nor'easterlies. Bit of a change coming. Sunrise and sunset. The sunrise is 6:44 and the sunset 6:21 p.m. The tides for Friday are the high tides of 5:41 a.m. and 6:11 p.m. The low tides, just the one at 11:54 a.m. Moving through now to our program for 9/11, Thursday the 11th of September, and up first it's Meet the Candidates, this very good presentation covered by our team. Meet the Candidates, this is part 3. And second, Jan Omnett and her handcraft. We've seen some good things there from the Omnett family while we've been visiting their residence, and now we're going to see Jan Omnett and her handcraft. But first, let's meet the candidates.
Thanks very much, candidates. We will now go back to the grey power question, which is, what is your party's position on electricity reforms and costs? How will you implement these, and what benefits do you foresee for the Waitaki electorate? And in the order we're going, that means you speak first now, Donald. Thanks.
The Conservative Party do not have a set policy with regard to electricity. As a general rule of thumb, we are opposed to intervention unless we know that by entering or applying certain rules that we're going to get an outcome that is totally predictable. The issue that I see with electricity, particularly for elderly folk, is the affordability issue, and particularly now with regional councils coming down hard on fires and emissions from homes and so forth. Certainly see that in Christchurch with their heat detection. So there are a number of other measures that I think have worked very well, such as insulation of homes and things like that. But in terms of intervening in the marketplace, no, not the Conservatives.
In 2010, the government introduced electricity reforms which provided for a great deal more competition between generators and electricity companies. Now that has had the benefit of driving down prices, and together with have I got good news for you, and together with the work we've done on making it much easier to switch energy companies, all you need to do is go online. You can do that down at the library if you don't have internet at home. The average saving per household can be up to $155 per annum. So since National took office in 2008, we have halved the power price increases which we've seen under the previous Labour government. And so in the year ending March of this year, we experienced the lowest annual price increase since 2001. So the also another factor which is not well known, but I think it's important, that the energy component of your bill, not the lines component, but the energy component of your bill has decreased, and that happened in the last quarter. We now are moving towards 75% renewable generation. We do have a target of 90%. We firmly believe that the way to keep and drive prices down is through competition in the marketplace. It has been shown to work, it is proven, and I think it's a pretty good policy.
It's good to get this question. I couldn't help but think about it as we drove past some of the big dams this morning on the way back from Twizel. Labour would establish a New Zealand Power Company, a new independent Crown entity. And what that would do would be it would be a purchasing authority that would buy power from the generator and allowing them to make a fair profit, but rather than the current price gouging that goes on, that we would on-sell the power to users at a reasonable price. There would be no further asset sales in the electricity sector under Labour. It's interesting that people get their power bills now and they've got no security of those prices. You might change companies, but we know that what happens is the next thing you know, the next bill you get after the first time you've got the cheap one is that it goes up again. I was talking to a woman from St Andrews the other day. She told me she had a $4,000 power bill. And I asked her, how on earth did you get a $4,000 power bill? And she said, well, it started off being $200 ones and it just kept growing, and they couldn't afford to pay it because she was on the minimum wage and her husband was a superannuant. So that's the kind of level that some people's power is at. So the process that we're proposing would be somewhat like Pharmac, and that's what we do currently with medicines, that we have a purchasing entity that provides stability of prices. And the other part of the process would be around passing on the electricity to the consumers People often have very confused power bills. They're not sure what you're paying for, what you're not paying for. We would make sure that power bills would indeed be able to be understood.
So the Greens have got an approach to power which is similar to Labor's and quite different to National's. We have got a plan to reduce that would see power bills reduced by about $300 a year for the average household, and we really want to focus on increasing our use of renewables in New Zealand. We believe our power bills are too high. Well, across the OECD in the last 20 years, power bills have on average gone down about 6%. In New Zealand, they've gone up by 70%. So we think that's not right. What we're seeing is Kiwi families and businesses paying too much for power. And what we've seen since, with the asset sales, we've seen, now we're seeing 2/3 of the profits coming from our power companies going into private shareholders' hands. And you'll note if you've been reading the papers that those profits were pretty large in just this last year. Our plan's called Empowering New Zealand, and there's 3 main parts to it, and if you want to have a look at our whole policy, it's all online. We'd established a single buyer like Labour would to negotiate cheaper power on behalf of all of us. So, if you're a big player, you can negotiate better deals. So we would have a big player that would work on behalf of people and businesses to do that. On our own, it's pretty tough to negotiate with the big guys. We would give each household a block of power at a cheaper rate, so we'd use a progressive pricing strategy. Your first 300 kilowatts of power would be cheaper, so people with modest uses would be much better off. And we would also really strengthen the role of energy efficiency measures. We've got a raft of policies around that, and we would really want to encourage a big shift across to green energy, so solar, solar on homes, solar in schools.
It's a good thing to bring up this power issue. Same with, I went through the McKenzie country quite a bit. And let's face it, the hydro scheme there was built as an integrated power system. It wasn't built to be competitive. Canal, it's all integrated. The guys who built it would be turning their graves, some of them, to see that it would be treated as a competing assets. It's like two people dealing in the Delta, competing with one another. It's just crazy. And to dealing with the price history, Rob Oram's got a few brains. I keep checking his articles, and he does a lot of research. His latest one says, despite falls in demand in electricity generation, power companies' profits continue to soar along with our power bills. And he's got some good stuff on there that he's checked out. So we're not getting the benefits of it because deregulation in a country of 4 million people with nearly over 30 power companies is just crazy. And really, the government would have us believe that it was a New Zealand design thing and all thought up over here, but if you read something like Joseph Stiglitz, who was the chief economist for the World Bank, he says here, this is to do with the Chicago boys from the Chicago School of Economics around the country, around the world in the 80s, with the start of the Roger Douglas, the experiment's still going. Under their influence, nationalisation was reversed, public assets privatised, national resources opened up to unregulated exploitation, the unions and social organisations torn apart, foreign direct investment and freer trade facilitated, and rather than wealth trickling down, it rapidly found its way to the pinnacle of the pyramid. As Stiglitz explained, these policies were and are protected by myths, and not least the highest paid deserve the excess of riches. And that's from Joseph Stiglitz. If you read his book, it's called The Price of Inequality, the Avoidable Causes and Hidden Costs of Inequality, stuff that people don't tell you about in this country. That's why we have these deregulated electricity reforms, and if we could reverse it, have enough influence, we would stop any continuation of assets and electricity assets and even try and buy some of them.
I'm now speaking with Jan on it, and we're looking at her creative crafts, a lot of it needlework, and there's one immediately in front there of the elderly. No, she's a beautiful lady actually, but it was done by
my mother, Mary Selman.
And how long ago?
1995 actually.
Yes.
Mum was good and put her dates on things.
Good. And to the left of it?
That was a pillow that I made for our wedding in 1998.
So it's made, what is the material, by the way?
Mainly satin. Just bits and pieces I collected, and mainly bought all those bits in Australia when we were on holiday.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and a motorbike?
Well, that was from my sister Yvonne, and that was a wedding present.
I was going to say, you haven't encouraged Jeff to lift a needle and...
Never.
Well, we'll work on that. And along here...
that was one I made for my grandmother many years ago because she loved oranges and yellows and she loved to garden. So
you've been an enthusiast for needlework, or as a family you've been an enthusiast?
My grandmother was really great at crafts, everything from crochet to needlework, sewing. Mum seemed to be really good at it and passed it on to me and my two sisters. We all do it.
Right. Well, obviously it's throughout your house here, so we'll now up the camera and go and have a look in the kitchen, the office, the bedroom, the spare room, and you can tell us about each piece. Good. Out in the kitchen dining room, and these ones are hanging on the wall. You like having them about you all the time, using
I do, because they're bright, they're fun, they're just as interesting to me as painting.
Yes. And that's the point. Have you got a favourite colour?
At the moment I think you can probably tell it's turquoise.
Well, I think we'll go and look over here. I asked about the Tiffany lamp. Are they called Tiffany lamps?
It's a similar style, yes.
Yes. See over on the room divider there. How difficult is that? Because it looks a very thin glass.
It's not too bad. It's all made flat, and it's only when you put the four sides together that it gets a little awkward. But I made that because I used the same glass in the back door and the cupboards over here as well.
But there seems to be an angle, so you're heating it up when you put the lead divisions in?
That's done with a copper foiling technique where you have a copper, like sellotape, you put it over the edges and then you're soldering the two coppered edges together.
Right.
Yeah.
What happens if you break one? How do you fix one?
You start again.
Oh.
Yeah, and that happens quite a lot because some of that glass has got quite a grain in it.
I see.
And
yes.
It does tend to.
Do you buy that glass here? Locally?
I haven't actually done any stained glass for a few years, and I used to go to a class with Neil Craig at Waitaki Boys.
Oh yes,
yes,
I know.
And a lot of that glass came from Auckland.
Did it? Yeah. Yes. It looks very, very fine. And did you paint it, or were they those original colours?
They're the colours. No, they're just different coloured glasses that you buy. Yeah.
Right. Well, we'll go to the office next. I love that as a mirror. Where did you find it?
Actually found it in a shop in Kaikoura.
Well, that's appropriate,
yes.
Of course.
On the only trip that my husband ever took me to the North Island, where we had a van, and he said I could buy, he normally says I can buy whatever I like, but he sticks me on the back of a motorbike. So this time I had a van, so I made use of it.
Well, obviously, and you were getting the boat going up to the North Island,
yes.
Right, okay. Yes, and is it really power? That,
yes, it was made by an artist, I can't remember her name, who lives in the North Island in Coromandel, but yeah, I love the iridescence of power, and I picked that up in the glass in the cupboards as well as the lamp in the back door.
And the teapot's very classy as well.
Yes,
quirky.
Quirky. I can't remember who made that, but she lives in Redfield, I think.
Right. Excellent. Okay, we get distracted on the way through, but now we're going to the office. Very large one that you've hung up, and was this your pink period, was it?
I started that very obviously, as you can see, in the 90s, and I only finished it about 3 years ago when I took up patchwork again, and I decided I had to finish it before I started something else, and I didn't know what to do with it because my colours have changed. So I stuck it on the wall.
Yes. We won't. I did ask you actually. Behind you, we have a huge cupboard, and I wondered whether it's full of pieces of material.
No, it's probably full of Victorian costumes and other bits and pieces.
Okay, and the teddy bears on the bed and the gollywog, and have you made the irises?
No.
Okay, but the quilt on the bed, you made it?
I made that about 30 years ago.
Right.
My younger sister Debbie, and I both made hexagon quilts by hand. They're all hand stitched.
Now, what do you call them?
It's English paper piecing, or it's sometimes called a flower garden quilt.
Ah, right.
So it's not in very good order. The kids have over the years have attacked bits of it, but it's still there.
It's used to live in.
Yes.
And to come right down to the foot of the bed, and we've got these, what I'd call for dressing up dolls. Is there a story about how you've selected that?
No, it was just sort of random pieces of things I liked.
Because were you as a child somebody who got there were books on the sort of a semi-cardboard, and you cut out the dresses and you pinned the wee pieces?
I did used to have those.
Did you now? Because that's exactly what it reminded me of.
Yep.
Right, so that was perhaps more into orange. And what about the poof?
I made that when I had my knee replaced.
Oh,
it was nice to put my leg up on.
Now, that is important, yes. So when do you do your embroidery quilting work?
Mainly in the evenings and the weekends. If I can't sleep, which is quite often, I'll get up early in the morning and sew.
Great. Right, good idea that. Okay, next room please. And before we go, we've got all of the gollywogs and the glorious colours. And what about the actual?
I do love gollywogs.
Did you make them too?
No, they're actually made by an artist called Katie Finn, but I love gollywogs.
Yes. And
I made that wall hanging after I'd finished making a gollywog quilt for my granddaughter.
Right, right. And a wooden high chair. Did you have a wooden high chair as a child?
No, I saw that in an antique shop in Bulls and fell in love with it, and 2 weeks later it turned up.
Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, good. Somebody was standing.
Jeff was
listening.
Yes, so he purchased it for me.
Yes, we had a wooden high chair as well, but and the clocks they're popping up again.
Yes,
heavy.
Very heavy. I inherited a couple from my parents, and that wasn't enough for Jeff, so we now have clocks in every room and every shape and size.
I did ask whether they are wound up and strike.
They are mostly wound, but they don't strike because it drives me up the wall. Because they never all strike at the same time.
And we've got lead light work up here above the window. I'm trying to think of the correct term for it. What are they? Fan lights.
Fan lights.
Yes.
His brothers made those and the lampshade whenever we did up the room for Sophie.
Did you do Pinocchio the puppet?
No, I actually bought him from that lovely antique shop down in the harbour side area. Is it Oasis? I just thought he was cute.
I know, yes. The quilt that you've got hanging, I'm sure I saw that at the Quilters exhibition this year recently.
I actually exhibited that one 2 years ago. That was a class with Mary Transom, who's from the North Island, and I just really loved doing that one. It was quite fun, lots of beading and handwork as well. So
yes, and the beading you buy or you acquire around the place locally?
You can actually get a lot of beads in the little shops in town. Yeah,
right.
Good sources.
And the marble head?
That was a piece that my grandmother had in her house, but when my grandmother died I couldn't afford it and it was sold, and many years later Evan Blair saw it and he bought it and he said, Jan, if you don't want it, I'm having it. But I got it.
Wonderful. Do you know, therefore, when your grandparents had it, where did they get it from?
I'm not sure. My grandfather's uncle was a bank manager who came from Scotland, and he brought a lot of stuff out with him.
Right. And the quilt down on the sofa there with those burgundy colours, I mean, it always worries me, how do you decide what shape, how big, what the shapes will be, the design inside, like how do you make up your mind?
That one was actually a class that I did with Kathy Hurst, who's a local tutor, and all those colours are in the border fabric,
right.
And all those different shapes are actually made by cutting different portions of the border fabric. So the border fabric dictates what the design's going to be.
And that's useful.
And that material was by one of my favourite designers, Jimmy Byer from Washington. And I've actually visited her studio and met her in there.
Wow, that's wonderful. Okay, and some more clocks and some pooled wear. Yes. And then we're going into your sewing needlework room. That? Good dog. Yes. A favourite posse to watch the world go by.
Very much so.
So this is the workplace. So
Very
what's this?
small, but yes. This is the start of another quilt. We're expecting another grandchild in February, so I'm doing an applique quilt with lots of different animals on it.
Right. And presumably these are grandchildren here.
My daughter's on either end with the granddaughter in the middle, yes.
I see, yes. Do they put in, well, the daughter's making orders, this is what we would like?
Pretty much they have a go at that, but they get what they're given. They've both got quilts.
Quite. Okay, and this multicoloured one up the top there?
That was just a colour spectrum quilt that's just done off the colour wheel. Another class with Kathy Hurst.
Oh, of course, yes. You designed this yourself or you send for it somewhere?
No, this is pattern.
I see, right. Okay. Yes, there we are. And I'll move along a little bit, but you've got racks for cottons. Enough? You said not enough space. Is that for people or for all the materials?
For material, because the cupboard's full and I need another cupboard.
And the cupboard full, yes. I'm sure there's a lot of people got a cupboard full.
Most patch workers have at least one cupboard.
And on the window, the butterfly, is that a painted one?
No, they're stained glass with the copper foil technique.
Right.
Yes. I did those many years ago for my grandmother.
They're brilliant, and I love the lady.
That was my very first piece I ever did, and that's using the actual lead light.
They're taken from materials that have come out of historic buildings, or you buy that?
The floral glass was actually a window that my sister took out and she gave to me, and I was amazed it cut because it was very old glass.
Is it what do you use?
I just use a little glass cutter.
Right.
Diamond-headed glass cutter.
And how long altogether from... once you've decided what you're going to do?
Probably it took about 2-3 months just working on a class one night a week. Because it was pretty slow because it was my first piece. Right.
And the sewing machine, we missed it on the way round. What have you got?
A Benina.
A Benina. Right. You feel almost they ought to be sponsoring all of you people who are enthusiasts.
Benina actually are huge sponsors of patchwork and symposiums and things that we go to. They provide all the brand new machines for the New Zealand symposiums, which are held every 2 years. All the participants can use a brand new machine. Just hire them. So no, Benina are huge sponsors.
Okay. And this is your grandmother?
Yes, my mother's parents.
Right. Like the frame too.
It's the original frame that was a gift to my grandparents from her parents.
Lovely. And have you still got the wedding dress?
No, she never kept it.
Wonderful. So starting at the top, here we have the dress-up dolls, I call them. Are these ages or stages or colours? What?
The top one with the dresses is just a little cot-sized quilt. The white one with the turquoise and red, I did that for Tangible's window to advertise our quilting exhibition. Jill had asked for something in turquoise and red, and because they were fashionable and we didn't have anything, so I had to make something in a hurry. The orange one actually belongs in our caravan, which is 1970s style, and that's what we call a round robin quilt. Yes. And I started it, and then five different people added to it, and I got it back, and so you don't know what it's going to look like until you get it back.
That's fun.
I loved it. I absolutely love it. And the bottom one is just some beautiful, this fabrics I love. I love the fabric with the writing on it. Yes, this quilt, I got the kit from America, and the colours in the quilt have dictated the colour of the room. It's all done by paper piecing. It took me 2.5 years on and off. It's very time consuming, and some of the pieces are quite small, just a couple of centimetres wide by say 4 centimetres long, so it was really a labour of love, and I was getting over it by the end. You make a very good point about how many pieces? I think there's probably 1,000 or so, but yeah, by the end it was too much almost.
Yes. And the very fact that is a double bed, it's not king or queen size.
It's queen.
And it is a queen.
Yes.
It is a queen, right. But your quilting room is not even the size of a quilt, is it?
No. No, so there's a lot of fabric draped all around you, the machine, over the table and everywhere, and you can get in quite a mess.
Well, you made the point that that quilt and the colour dictated the decor of the room.
Yes.
I can see now your quilting is dictating the size of the house.
Pretty much. I hope I'll get a new quilting room out of it, a sewing room. It would be nice.
Well, look, it's been brilliant. We're going to have a look at the front door. Beautiful. Do you know the age of the house, by the way?
1927.
1927. Okay, so probably would have had some stained glass.
It had coloured panes of glass, but not stained glass.
No, right. And how did you decide your colours there?
The red was real. I think red's quite classic and traditional, and lead light. And funnily enough, it's the most expensive glass because they use gold to colour it.
Oh.
In the process, so that's why red glass is more expensive.
Yes.
I just wanted something with a lot of colour and but also to let in a lot of light, so just decided on the red border.
And the timber? Do you know?
The timber is all cedar, and when we arrived everything was painted, so it took us a lot of time to get everything back down to wood.
Yes, that's one thing. I mean, nobody's painted anything inside in my place.
You're lucky.
Yeah. And the Tiffany lamp, you built it too?
Yes, just another, I think there's 2 of them in the hall.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much
for
the look around your place. We'll let you back to what smells to be cooking beautifully in the kitchen.
Welcome back, and thank you for watching 45 South. Remember that you can be in touch with us. The contact phone number for texts or calls is 027 45 South. That's 027 45 76 884. And 45 South TV at yahoo.co.nz for the email. And the studio, of course, 17 Itchen Street. And remember to look for and like and share on our Facebook page. Exciting developments happening, because with some support we are going to be getting a much higher quality fibre broadband soon, and we're going to be able to bring things to you, not just broadcast but online as well. So watch for developments. So otherwise, thanks to the team for bringing the program together. Good evening.